Good morning and welcome to another great show for Money Truth Moments with the one and only Judy Copenbarger. Good morning, Judy. How you doing?
I am doing awesome. It's a big day here in the United States. Very excited here on Election Day. Very excited. So excited.
Hey, so speaking of election, what's that little sticker I see on your shirt there or your coat?
Yes, and I see we are twins today. So congratulations on voting. Anyone who has not voted, please do that. Either get your ballot in the mail or get down there and vote in person. It's a big day, an important election, locally as well as nationally. So get your 2 cents in. Otherwise, you're not allowed to complain later. Everybody vote.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, you got till 8 o'clock today to make sure that get out there and do it. Do your civic duty for all of us, for sure. So, hey, welcome. Good to always see you. We have a very special show today. And I know that we covered a lot of great topics over the last several weeks. But today, one that came up that we wanted to discuss was actually the one about newlyweds. Right? This is a big one.
Yeah.
Because although we're going through a lot of situations with COVID and all that, it hasn't stopped folks from, saying I do. And although that's another piece too, right? Where weddings are actually a little bit different now with everything that we have with social distancing and all that. But it hasn't stopped folks from falling in love and tying a knot and being together, which is great. So I want to make sure that we have enough time on our show, but I wanted to start off with what are some of the conversations that we should be having as newlyweds, right? Mm-hmm. Like, for example, maybe talking about merging bank accounts or maybe some skills around savings.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. And to all of you who are newlywed or about to be, congratulations. What an interesting, wonderful year. Think of the stories you'll tell your grandkids about the year you got married and all that craziness. So, I'm here for the people that have to kind of navigate around that. But it's just going to turn back to be a great story and a wonderful adventure. So congratulations. But yeah, bank accounts and savings are 2 big topics when you're merging a household and you're bringing all that stuff together. For bank accounts, I would say there are some people that work really well working out of one account or one set of accounts that are all joint accounts, and that works. What has worked at our house and a lot of clients I've worked with over the years is to have separate accounts. So you have a his account and a hers account, and you have accountability with it, and you honor, how you handle those accounts. But then you have joint accounts that you both each month put a certain amount in that covers the expenses that are joint expenses. But that way, if one or the other has a little control issue or, different values around money, which you should if you didn't grow up in the same household, then you can just, if I want to get my nails done, I don't want to have to answer to that. If he wants to go golfing, he shouldn't have to answer to that. So I think having separate accounts for those things is fine, but you want to have agreements around how the separate accounts work. And then savings, I think savings is a big issue. Some people are really good at it and some people struggle with it. And usually if you're married, there's one of each in the household, right? Mm-hmm. So for savings, it really needs to be savings. And sometimes just putting technical boundaries or parameters around savings can help. For example, open a together account that is far away, maybe a credit union or a bank that they don't have a branch on your corner, where you get your gas every Tuesday.
Right.
So savings really is savings. It's hard to go to that bank. You have to think about going to the next city to that bank to pull the money out. Then you put it there and it's supposed to be one way, right? You put it there, it actually becomes savings that later could be investments for future goals or retirement or whatever. But I think having technical parameters around savings that you agree on together is going to be huge and very helpful in your young marriage.
And that's a great suggestion about having the bank of whatever institution away, because it's not easily accessible. And then as you're talking about this, I'm like, that is a fantastic idea, just because it's not there. Usually a lot of folks, money in your hands, you got to spend it and all that.
Yeah.
Which definitely make you think twice about going, oh my gosh, do I really want to sit in traffic just to pull out, $100 or whatever from this account, So no, that's a great point. What are some things that we should be aware of? We're talking about spending as a newlywed couple. What are some things that you may share with us?
Yeah. Well, you want to spend with a purpose. So it's so much more fun to make the rent payment or make the mortgage payment when the money's already there and you're not borrowing from the gas I need to buy tomorrow or the groceries I need to go get on Friday. So just planning ahead. So most people, when you look backwards, when it comes to a spending plan or a budget, the B word, right? The spending plan.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, when they look back, all the dollars went somewhere, right? So what if you planned ahead where their dollars are going to go instead of looking back at where they went? It probably would be a better result. So it's like you have hindsight, foresight. Let's use the foresight. So we're given that for a reason. We're given vision and planning DNA for a reason. So I think the biggest thing about doing that together is that when you're merging a household, you have different values about money. You have different ideas what it means to save, what it means to spend. And if you have a joint way to communicate, if it's either a plan in writing, which I recommend because we forget what we agreed to and circumstances change too. It's just like a contract, like any contract. If it's in writing, you have an exit strategy. When things change, you can modify it. I think having some of these oral contracts reduced to writing is really helpful, even in a marriage. It's not like, we're going to sue each other, but just to have a common goal that is a written document that will help us navigate. I think that would be really great for people to have if they don't.
Yeah. Great. Folks, thank you for joining us this morning on Money Truth Moments. We are speaking with Judy Copenbarger today. We're talking about newlyweds. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. She's on all social media platforms as well. Make sure that you say hi, drop a question as well too for the show, and she'll be more than happy to address it as we've done in the past too. And I know that maybe in the next few weeks, we're going to be doing another Q&A because I hear folks really love that show and want some of their answers. Some of their questions answered, I should say. So, which should be really good. Again, folks, make sure you follow Judy at judycopenbarger.com. We are currently discussing newlyweds, and we've just talked about important conversations that we should be having, things that we should be aware of when spending. So let me ask you this, Judy. So how does personal attitudes, and you just talked about this a little bit, how does personal attitudes, backgrounds, and experiences around money impact our soon-to-be new lifestyle?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. So when you're merging your lives and starting this brand new thing, you've had maybe your single life if you've been out on your own for a little while, or if you're coming from mom and dad's house, recently after college or whatever, you've got all these attitudes about money. You have expectations about how spending goes, what savings looks like, what retirement planning looks like, whether you love insurance or you hate insurances. You have your ideas, but so does your spouse. And so remember, when you are merging your lives, you're not going back to mom and dad's house. You're not going to do it the way grandma and grandpa did. You're going to take all these ideas, all these values around money, all these expectations and past mistakes about money, and you're going to merge all those together. So of course there's going to be conflict, but recognizing that that's going to happen, you can plan ahead and together say, here's what I feel about spending. What do you feel about spending? Oh my goodness, I just spend whatever comes in. No, right? The way I do it is we always pay ourselves first, and then we tithe, and then we pay our taxes, and we hold money back, and we have cash reserves. Then we go, decide if we can go to the movie or not. So you might have one of both of those types of spenders or fiscal, mindsets in your household. You want to merge them. So the big key here is communication. You got to communicate early before there's problems and hot spots. You got to communicate often. You got to communicate through all the seasons. So you've got the season of all these expenses in a marriage. There's the wedding and the honeymoon and getting your household set and buying new dishes together, whatever. There's all those expenses that weren't there before. That might bring conflict without planning. And then you go through the next season. Well, he, decided not to work to go finish school, go to grad school. She decided to go back to school. Then you move, and now you have a house payment when before rent was a little lower, whatever. All these transitions, you have a baby, now there's all these expenses that weren't there before. So of course your spending plan looks different. And of course there's going to be numbers that are different. It's like, the blame game is so easy. You don't make enough. You're spending too much, right? So communication, it's not about bringing conflict. It's about bringing harmony, marital harmony around money. So having systems and tools and templates and ways to tangibly and visually communicate these things together, planning tools are key. They are just, I mean, they're masterful and makes all the difference in the world. Got to communicate.
That's no, and that's a great point. And you're just talking about financial tools as well too. There's a couple of things that I want to make sure that folks also hear about and understand. One is I'm going to give you my next question that came up as well, but I also want to see if you can also talk about afterwards some of the tools and resources that are available. So I'll ask you that a little bit later. But for now, you talked about being smart about what we're doing planning wise. So let's talk about joint financial planning, right? What is it? And what does it look like?
Yeah, it's just bringing that communication together. What do you need? What do you want? Here's what I need. Here's what I want. Bringing that together. Sometimes it's helpful to have someone in the middle, a mediator, or someone to translate. This is what I think you
Mhm.
said, because it's hard when you're coming at each other and you're in love and you just want to make out, and you just want to make your nest, all
Yep.
that stuff. Yeah, here. But
Yeah.
then you've got to really look at these other topics too, the topics that might have conflict, not because you're fighting about it, but just because you're coming in with different attitudes and values and different expectations. So it's about setting expectations, and it's about, as I mentioned, communicating around that. So having a specific plan of action will really help. So you got to start with your values. What are your values around money? What are your values in life, really? Here are mine. And if you've done like pre-marriage counseling or early, therapy or counseling, or you've had really good mentors in your life that helped with those things, maybe your parents were great communicators and you got those skills. Maybe you were in scouts. Maybe you picked it up in college. Maybe you had mentors that really model for you what a good marriage looks like in terms of communication and working out these details. The first thing is to get your values on paper. And you might have different values. Maybe he likes to have adventure. She likes to have romance. Maybe he likes to really just be at home and, put plants in the greenhouse. And she likes to go travel on the weekends and go to shows, right? So whatever it is, you want to bring all those values on paper, what you're really looking for long-term in life. This is going to help in every area of life. It's not just
Mhm.
about money. So
Right.
the values, then you get the goals that you create jointly, and you create goals that are around those values, in alignment with those values. So there might be a goal of, we agree that, we like to have new cars to drive, or maybe if you're a realtor, you kind of need a nice car, something like that. So every 2 or 3 years, we're going to make sure, or every year, whatever, if you can afford it, we're going to make sure that we have a decent car to drive and we get a new model, whatever. There might be one of you that wants the new cell phone or the new technology widget. And the other one's like,
Mhm.
no, this one's good. Flip phone's still good. So I know a couple of those. And so you don't have to agree on everything, but you've got to have common goals. I want to work till 45 and retire. Well, I want to work till 70 because I love what I do. So how do we create goals together around that? The values, then the goals. The third thing is the plan of action. This is that written plan of action that says step by step, here's what we're going to do. We've agreed on these goals. We're not going to change them unless we both agree to. Now we're going to work toward these goals, so we can choose. It's like Roy Disney always said something like, if your destination is clear, if your goal is clear, the decisions are easy. Isn't that true?
Yeah,
So
it's true.
when it's on the path, it's taking me toward where I want to go, or it would take me away from where I want to go, it's easy to know where to go. Decisions are easy. So when you have that clarity around the goals, clarity around when the goal will be achieved, how much money do we need for it, things like that, then it's easy to say, well, we could go to that luxury theater and spend $150 having wine and cheese watching our favorite movie, or we could Netflix it. And the extra
Mhm.
$100, $120, right? $130, the
Right.
extra money could go toward one of our goals that we both agreed we want to achieve. So it's easy to make decisions like that. And nobody feels bad, like, oh, you never take me anywhere, right? So
Right.
having that
Right.
clarity is good. So just to recap, you got to have vision first, alignment of the goals, and then the plan of action that everybody's agreeing to.
Excellent. And I want to ask you also a follow-up question with that. So as we're talking about this planning, let's talk a little bit also about future life insurance, certain types of insurance that as a newlywed couple we should be looking at and some things that we should keep in mind as well, for the future as we're beginning.
Sure. Well, there's life insurance, but there's all kinds of other insurances. So obviously, if you have a car,
Right.
you have good liability. Yesterday, actually, I had a call, and it was from my daughter's friends, and he had been involved in an accident. It was terrible. Someone was hurt, and they own
Um,
three properties, three houses, and it's like, well, how do we protect the houses, right? And so we were looking through, well, what do you have? What's available? He had the bare minimum that you can have for liability on his auto. Save money, right? Well, he's not
right.
saving money because it will cover 15,000, and this is probably about $1 million claim. So now he's on the hook, and we're trying to scramble to see what he can do to make it right for this poor victim. But
Right.
also save. They just had a new baby. Save what they can for their family too, and balance all that. It's a tough spot to be in. If he had
Mhm.
adequate liability protection on his car, big difference. Same thing. We're having fires right now. This is fire season here in California, so people who are having losses. Well, some have adequate coverage, and it might be one little checkbox. Replacement coverage versus not. Huge difference, and that's auto as well. So there's those insurances. You want to make sure that you have proper liability because now it's not just you. There's two of you. And if you're bringing
Right.
kids into sometimes you marry and all of a sudden you've got a family, you got to protect them too. So you want to get the health insurance right, do everything you can through your work. You'll see what options are available there. Sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes it's not. And then in terms of life insurance, now, let's say you move in together and you bought a home. If something happens to you and you get hit by that bus and you don't both get hit by the same bus on the same day, there's going to
Mhm.
be a survivor there. Do you want them to be able to stay in that house that you've established together? Because now you don't have dual incomes, right? Maybe you're not dinks anymore.
Right.
You don't have dual incomes to cover the mortgage. Are they going to have to move out? What about all the credit card debt? If you haven't had enough life insurance coverage to make sure that the mortgage is paid, the debt is paid, and if you have any other future goals, education, things like that, that's all covered. When you're young and healthy, most people are healthy when they're young.
Mhm.
Life insurance is so inexpensive when you look at dollar to dollar. For most people, the money they spend at Starbucks would cover enough premium for like $1 million. And in most of the parts of the country, that would cover the mortgage and cover maybe a couple of years' income for a young spouse who's now widowed to be
Right.
able to, regroup. And they'll have to worry about a lot of things in a transition like that. But one thing they wouldn't have to worry about is paying the bills and can I take time off, to grieve and
Right.
to reboot. So life insurance is huge for young people, in terms of what kind of life insurance. Usually at least get some of that term I was talking about, term insurance, dirt cheap.
Mhm.
If you have the means and you have enough money for the other goals, if you plan a family, if you want to have a second home or a cabin or something, if all those goals are funded and you're on your way to funding those and you can afford it through cash flows, then you can purchase what we call permanent insurance. And there's several kinds of permanent insurance. But the idea here is the insurance doesn't run out when you turn a certain age. It's not just 20 or 30 years of coverage. It'll last forever. So at the other end of life, if you need it for retirement, if you need it for legacy for your kids or grandkids or education funding, you can have that as
Mhm.
well. But permanent insurance, as a rule of thumb, will have premiums about 5 times the amount of the premiums that are temporary term insurance. So if you can afford, instead of $50 a month, $500 a month or $300 a month for insurances, you can get permanent insurance, and it's a great. It can be an investment too, tax free, but the death benefit will be there in your 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. And young people are going to live longer, so that's
Right.
probably a really good thing to have on the radar when you can afford it.
Awesome. And I appreciate you sharing that too, because it just came to mind that this things that we don't think about, especially when we're young and, we just get married. There's a lot of things that, our parents didn't teach us,
Yeah.
so it's good that you're sharing some of this as well too. So folks, thank you for joining us. We are talking about newlyweds, some of the things that our newlywed couples face. We are here with Judy Copenbarger on Money Truth Moments. Remember, we're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. She's on social media websites. Social media sites. She's got her website as well too. Lots of great information, lots of great resource. And speaking of resources, I want to make sure also, as newlywed couples take on this path and this journey, I want them to know just how much resources is out there from your website, from the things that you've done for folks as well too. So you want to talk a little bit about your program, your website, and what they can find on there?
Absolutely. Well, I'm on YouTube. There's all kinds of short little videos. They're all like 3 to 8 minutes on everything, about credit interest and about savings and about how to do a spending plan and everything like that. Mortgages. There's all kinds of information there. It's all free. We also have a book called Money, Truth, and Life. And this book goes through all the 5 pillars of finance. It gives you a basic understanding of all those things, like we just talked about life insurance, all the different kinds. What's the difference between a will and a trust? What's the difference between a bond and a stock? What should I have? What should I do at work? What should I do for retirement? All of that. So it goes through all the 5 pillars, how to do a savings, how to do a merge, with a spouse. And there's a lot of really neat live stories that make it relevant for people. So that book is great. It's on anywhere books are sold. There's Books A Million and Amazon and Target and Barnes and Noble, anywhere. I think on Amazon, you can Kindle it for like $1. I mean, it's like very available. I think what's more exciting for people that really want to get this right, and I think it's the perfect gift for any young married couple, first anniversary, second, fifth anniversary. If they don't have a financial planner, which many people do, but if they don't have a planner or an advisor in their life that does all this collaboration with all of these areas of finance, the Money, Truth, and Life online mastery course is amazing. It goes through, it's like a college course. But it starts like in preschool, goes through kindergarten, all the way through high school, and then into college. And it's everything you need to know about every area of finance. And you can do it on your own. There's short little videos that go through, there's templates and worksheets. And what you end up with is a great way to have a conversation. Like we're talking about communicating with your spouse.
Right.
A great way to have those conversations in a safe way. So it's like a mediator without having to go to therapy. It's just like, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe we should do it this way. And there's always options. I always like to lay options. So it's not like you have to do it this way like grandpa did. No, here's 3 or 4 ways to do it. You guys pick one, on the spectrum. Find where you are together. Because what you're doing when you're married, you're creating a new culture. It's the culture of you guys. Like here we have the Copenbarger culture. And it came from the side, it came from the Copenbarger side. But when we married 36 years ago, we created our own culture. And it takes a while to develop that. But it's ours. Our family doesn't look like anybody else's. Our merging attitudes about everything, including money, don't look like any other families that I know. We have our own. So you get to create that when you're newly married. You get to just do that together. These tools are the best tools. Well, they're the best ones out there because when I went looking for them, they weren't there. So I had to make them, right? After 40 years of working with people, 40 something years. But they're tools that are simple to understand. They're clear. If you just sat down fireside and did one video a night for, a month, it might take a month to get through them. You would have such great understanding and such great clarity about what you need to do in your family's culture. What a gift. I have so many people when I sit down with them say, oh, I wish you were here 20 years ago. Why didn't you do this years ago? Well, I wish I would have too. But I wish I would have known this in my 20s, in my 30s, and my 40s. And now you can know it right now.
Yeah. And, in talking about that, I want folks to also know that you've given this gift of wisdom and everything you've experienced, put together not only the book, but the mastery program too. And folks, this isn't, as I've gotten to know Judy over the last several months, it's not about money. It's not about finance. It's about Judy leaving a legacy to help people on that as well too. So I would love for you just to quickly share what this legacy you're trying to leave behind for folks.
Absolutely. Well, I've had the honor of working with hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of families, small business owners, ministry leaders, helping them understand these concepts and merge all of these concepts together. The thing about finance is sometimes you'll go to a subject matter expert, maybe your tax guy, your lawyer, your insurance provider, whatever, and you'll make a decision and you'll implement some activity in one area of finance, it blows up a problem in the other area. Like, it's not collaborative. It's not working together. So when you have a plan that thinks through all the other aspects of finance, what's the impact going to be on my taxes if I sell this stock, right? What's the tax guy going to say about the legal work that I just did with my entity? So when you have it all together, you avoid almost all the mistakes. Statistically, it's going to be huge. Like 95% or more mistakes can be avoided just by looking through all of those facets, of the diamond, looking through all of those perspectives before you implement. And then you don't have to go back and go, oh, I wish I would have known. Right. Well, now you get to know. So I think that's what's most important. Did I answer your question?
Awesome. No, absolutely. Absolutely, you did. So I know that we're coming close to the end of our show, and it's one of our favorite moments, but we have a really special. I know we always talk about our weekly challenge on that, but having, today being voting day, what do you say that we actually put the challenge to make sure how many folks can get out there and vote, and leave us a message on below in the comments, just saying, yes, I voted, and see how many we can collect.
I love that. We want to either see a picture of you with your sticker, thumbs up.
That's right.
Or let us know you voted. And I have an additional challenge. When we're talking about elections, especially, every 4 years we have the big one, right? So when we're talking about those elections, I get a lot of questions about investments and the market and what do you think is going to happen? And what does your crystal ball say? Well, I don't have one. And if I did, I don't know if I trust it. But a little side challenge that I'd like, you got to vote. Let us know you voted. The other challenge is about investments. So just quickly go through your history of investments, write down the best investment you ever made, the worst investment you ever made, and why, and your next investment that you'd like to make. And just document those. And then next time we'll talk about what happens in the markets in these election years, because it's huge. And when you understand it, it's not fearful, it's amazing. And we embrace it. There's your challenge.
No, that's a great challenge. I appreciate you putting that out there too, because it's really going to get us to really think about, because you don't really think about it, right? It's investments, but you don't know when it's time to vote and all of these elections come up. Sometimes good things happen, sometimes bad things happen in the market. So we've seen a fluctuation of that. So I'm glad you're setting that challenge as well.
Yep.
So folks, thank you for joining us today. Judy Copenbarger, as always, thank you for being here with us, sharing your wisdom. We are here, Money Truth Moments, every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Please make sure if you're not following Judy, you do so at judycopenbarger.com. She's on all social media platforms. She gave you guys some great resources as well too. Make sure you look at her videos as well at YouTube, because there's a wealth of content, not only on YouTube on her channel, but as well as her website. I'm telling you folks, take 5 minutes just to go through her site, and you're going to find out that there's just a lot of free wisdom resources that Judy provides for everyone. So, hey, I want to say thank you. I'm glad we voted.
Yes.
So we did our duty. That's right. And so I look forward to talking to you next week. And I'd love to really discuss a little bit more of this challenge, because I know it's going to be on a lot of folks' mind as well, too.
Absolutely. Everybody vote. This is your day. Make it happen.
That's right. All right, Judy, I will see you next week. Take care.
Have a great week.